Good afternoon. It is June 6th, 2024, and it is a Thursday here in Sherbrooke. It's hot. It's currently 28 degrees Celsius, 82 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's gonna rain. It hasn't rained yet, but it's going to rain. The sun this morning rose at 5 a.m. Will set at 8:33 p.m. And if you've not calculated it yet yourself, that is 15 hours and 33 minutes of sunlight, which is one single minute more than yesterday. The days are getting longer. Later today, as I mentioned, it's going to rain. Just getting the Fahrenheit here. It was supposed to start raining at 5, but now that I've refreshed it, the percentages of precipitation have gone below 50%, but just barely, 49%. It's going to be 30 degrees Celsius, 85 degrees Fahrenheit. But then, yeah, 6, 7 p.m., we're getting a 59% chance of rain. Some thunderstorms at 8 p.m., 64% chance of rain. That's 25 degrees Celsius, 77 degrees Fahrenheit. At least starting at 9 p.m., 23 degrees Celsius, 73 degrees Fahrenheit. It could still be raining, but the probability goes below 50%. This is not great news for me, selfishly, because I want to go play Magic the Gathering, and I'm likely going to have to walk in the rain, which is not the end of the world, but just not super pleasant. It's very windy right now. Today, I've got a tummy ache, and I've been shitting a lot, and it's been bothering me. I had sort of a failed breakfast. It just wasn't very good. And I ate it, but it just wasn't very good. And now my stomach hurts, and I'm having difficulty with the concept of eating some more. I shaved, which was putting off, because I don't like shaving, but I prefer shaving to having a beer. So I shaved. But yeah, I want to talk about something more serious today, and just like a difficult question. I don't know if I'm going to come up with any answers, but it's just something that's been on my mind since yesterday. So, yesterday, I was looking at some shows coming up, and next week there's a show by a band that I think is total garbage, and I don't know. I don't want to give too much details because I don't want to talk shit about people's expressing themselves like they're not bad people. It's just I think their music sucks, and I'm not the only one. But they think their music is good. I'm sure other people do as well. But it's not them. They're not the problem. What's been on my mind is the opening band, which I will not name either. They are really bad. I think, just quality-wise. Because although, okay, so I do have this sort of theory that although it is not possible to say that art is, objectively good, except in retrospect. I don't know if it's just because, I can't express this in a concise enough way, clear enough way, or maybe I'm just wrong, or people just generally disagree. But I think if you're judging a particular piece of art in the moment, you can't say it's objectively good or objectively bad. But you can, in retrospect, say that something is good, capital G, good. For example, let's say the film Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction, I think, is a good film, and anybody who says it's a bad movie is incorrect. So why do I think it's a good movie? It is super culturally significant. It is super influential. So not only culturally, but also within its medium. It's also pretty much unanimously acclaimed. it was created by a very, beloved and well-respected artist. And like, if you just combine all of those things, I think you can say like this is a good example of filmmaking, and this is a good work of art within the medium of film. That's not what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about today, so is this band. And I think that just like the execution is not great. It's sort of like a new band as well. And in any case, it doesn't matter because I don't like it. I'm not going to listen to their music, and I'm not going to go see them perform. I don't like it. If anybody else does, that's fine. However, here's the issue. The issue is that like when I saw that this show was happening, I was like, I remember this band, and I remember listening to their stuff and thinking it was awful. However, I also remembered that they made this song, and this is the most recent song they put out from last year, where the lyrics were like objectionable. It is not easy for me to get like offended by art. And in any case, like I don't think anybody should necessarily not say what they want to say. I think it's up to like people's personal preference whether or not we want to support something. Something I really disagree with. Anyway, like I think it is important. To me, free speech is very important. You should be able to say whatever you want. Of course, there are limits. There are some absolutists out there. I'm not an absolutist. I should not be allowed to like threaten and harass somebody, right? Although that's can be sort of complicated and then more of a case-by-case basis. But so I won't say all of the lyrics to this song, but essentially the premise of the song is that like the narrator is going to like rape a woman at gunpoint, I guess because he feels scorned or something. I don't know. Like it's really fucked up. Like, and it is not satirical. It's not criticizing anything. It's not like bringing this up as a critique of a certain way of like thinking, which is going to lead me to the song I actually want to talk about today and want to recommend. But it's just really gross, and it's like I think it's just like, and I've like look at the lyrics of their other songs. They're not. Whoever's writing the lyrics is like not a talented lyricist, but I think the point is like expression of anger, but also just like wanting to be shocking for the sake of being shocking, which is really fucking cringe because these are like adults. And I will preface this by saying that like I was an edgelord when I was in high school and a bit into like late teens, maybe early 20s, like 20. I was an edgelord online, like I think a lot of people, a lot of boys, and so I would say just like racist, misogynistic shit, just with the sole purpose of pissing people off because I thought it was funny. In retrospect, I think just because like I was an angry person, and I got pleasure from making other people angry. So like. I mean, like, if I don't know if this stuff exists anymore, but if you wanted to like research me, you could probably find some real objectionable shit that I've said when I was a kid. And I was thinking about this, and like, I know the person who booked that show, or like the person who's the booker at the venue, and I was like, considering, should I like tell this person like. Because obviously the person who booked this show did not listen to this song, right? Because I know that he would find it gross as well. And of course, I know he didn't listen to it because, like, the band sucks, and why would he subject himself to this? It was probably he booked the other band, and the band said, like, hey, these are our openers, right? And it's like, okay, whatever. But it led me to sort of think, like, okay, so, like, do I have a responsibility? No. Because it's not like I'm not going to go see this show. I don't think necessarily that the people who are going to be there are going to be offended. I mean, maybe not, but it's really not my responsibility. I do think that, like, since the person who booked this show is my friend, like, if I booked a show with a band that I didn't know, I would want to have that information just because I find the song, like, actually, like, objectionable. But, like, ultimately, and, like, I don't think anybody's gonna get hurt from this song. They might not even play this song, probably, because they don't have that many songs. They're a relatively new band, and this is their most recent song. But, and, like, of course, I don't believe that, like, whoever wrote this song actually wants to do any of this. I don't think that this person is, like, a danger to society. But, anyway, this leads me to talking about Steve Albini. Because I was wondering how to talk about Steve Albini, because, you know, he died recently, and I'm a fan of Steve Albini and his different projects. So today I want to talk about the song Prayer to God, which is one of my favorite shellac songs, and is the opening track off of 1000 Hertz, which is probably my favorite shellac album. And the reason I want to talk about this is because, like, so going back to the question of, like, what are the limits? And what sort of determines, to me at least, if making art about objectionable subjects, or even, like, presenting something objectionable as being relatively straightforward in its presentation, like, when is that okay? Or when do I find that okay? And when do I not find that okay? Because it's a tough thing, and I guess it's, like, individual, but, like, let's take Prayer to God, which is a song about a man, the narrator, who gets, his wife cheats on him. And so he prays to God to kill his wife and the man that his wife cheated on him with. Which, in a way, you could say, like, are objectionable lyrics. Or, like, that's an objectionable perspective to have, right? So if you take it as, like, straightforward, this is what Steve Albini believes, you could think, like, okay, well, that's a pretty fucked up perspective to have, right? Even if it's just, like, an expression of anger, just, like, the way that it's presented so straightforwardly, and you'd be like, okay, well, this guy's got some serious issues. However, like, I understand that, like, Steve Albini and whoever wrote that song that I find objectionable from this local band, like, I know Steve Albini is not going to go out and, like, murder anybody, right? Let me read to you what Steve Albini had to say about this song, and then we'll get into Steve Albini a little bit more. So, he says that it examines the different facets of impotent male rage. The greater point is that his presumption of natural order, having been upended by what, after all, totally normal, turns of events, warrants not just death as revenge, but a righteous death, administered by a loving God who agrees with his perspective. Right? And then he also says it was inspired by a casual reflection on the idiom of the murder ballad, and how fucked up it was that we have a tradition of song that is basically dedicated to men murdering women. Then what if there was a guy who was too much of a wimp to actually murder anybody, but just as frustrated and entitled? And that's a pretty interesting perspective. And, like, when you listen to the song, like, although it is presented as the straightforward thoughts of this narrator, it is, like, an absurd thing. Like, he's praying to God, like, just fucking kill him. And then it ends with amen, right? So, I can see how it could be misinterpreted, and it was. Because there's a musician named Frank Turner started doing an acoustic cover of this. There was another interview with Steve Albini where, like, he was asked, like, have you heard these, like, acoustic covers of Prayer to God? Oh, I think I have it right here. Like, have you seen any of the terrible acoustic covers of Prayer to God that can be found on YouTube? Says, sadly, yes. The few seconds of each that I've been able to endure have not been rewarding. I feel slightly bad that there is an earnest interpretation of that song that I can't get behind, even though there is another earnest interpretation of that song that I could get behind. I feel like there are dudes not getting it who think I'm voicing their deepest thoughts when I'm trying to expose a fundamental weakness in a male identity. And there's talking about Frank Turner, who's like a famous, I don't know, he's from the UK somewhere. And like, I looked it up too, and like he's saying like, yeah, he introduces his version by saying how much the song chimed with his own situation in life. So, intent definitely is important. But here's what's difficult too, is that there is the possibility for misinterpretation, right? Because it is presented in a straightforward way, it can be misinterpreted. But we got to talk about Steve Albini, because Steve Albini did say some really objectionable things in his art and also like in interviews in the past. I mean, he had a band called Rape Man, which is the name of a it was like a Japanese comic book of like a superhero that goes out and rapes women, which is objectionable. I don't know if it was supposed to be fun. It was probably supposed to be funny. I don't find that to be particularly funny, but again, I don't think it should like not exist, or like whoever made that should not be allowed to do that. I think it's gross, but you know, whoever made that should have the right to do it. I mean, he also like he was friends with Peter Sotos of White House, who had this magazine called Pure, which like straight up featured like child pornography in it. I don't know if Peter Sotos was a pedophile. I don't think so. I think he was just like trying to be as offensive as possible. Steve Albini also said some racist shit about Odd Future because he was mad at them because he was like in a flight with them and they were just acting like idiots, and so he was like angry and he criticized them, but he also said some racist shit. I mean, in more recent years, I mean, of course, Steve Albini's been asked about some of the shit that he said, and there were some lyrics too in Big Black and stuff that, you know, he's been pretty candid about the fact that, like, yeah, it was, like, not cool. He said a lot of shit just to be shocking. Which, like I said earlier, like, I get that. Because I went through that when I was young and immature and angry. So, what's interesting about Steve Albini is that, like, not that it necessarily, like, excuses some of the stuff that he said, but it shows that you can grow as a person. And, like, that is one of the things where, like, I'm glad we're getting, like, out of this, and now we're going to talk about politics, or at least political stuff a bit. So, this thing, which is now much less prevalent than it was a few years ago, of, like, digging through, like, people's social media, like, famous people, and then, like, finding shit they said a long time ago, and then saying, like, you should be held accountable for what you said then. So, for example, Kevin Hart, I think, lost his spot hosting an award show. I remember there was that band, Power Bottom, which was, like, also poised to be, like, these, like, darlings of the, like, sort of punk, queer, like, independent rock scene. And the singer allegedly was a huge piece of shit, right? Which is one thing, but, like, some people went back to, like, posts that he made when he was in high school, where he was, like, ironically, like, promoting, like, Nazism or Hitler. I think he, like, drew a swastika somewhere, right? It's, like, ironic racism, which, again, ironic racism does not, I don't think you can necessarily, like, excuse it outright. You know, even if you're being racist ironically, you're still saying something racist, right? Or doing something racist. But, I mean, he was in high school. So the fact that, like, people brought that up, it's like, dude, this guy's being accused of, like, sexually assaulting people, like, now. And you're going to bring up the fact that when he was in high school, he, like, drew a swastika on something? Like, I think with any sort of progress comes often overcorrections. And so those were some of the overcorrections of like we're just gonna pour through, and then also like I don't know if it's just like a like U.S. Canada like Western sort of thing, but like there is this like mentality of like wanting to like tear people down. I don't know. I don't think it's fair to go back and say like you said something 10, 15, 20. Sometimes with like Steve Albini, it's like 40 years ago. It's like you want to like hold this human being who, like all of us, like grows and develops and evolves and be like, I mean, I saw people like in this like Reddit thread, of course it's a Reddit thread, but in this Reddit thread about Steve Albini, like saying like he's a fucking pedophile and he's a pedophile apologist because he says some pretty disgusting things, like essentially saying like he loves Peter Soder's magazine. He like describes the cover, which is like a kid getting raped. It's super fucked up. But it's like obviously he was just saying that to be offensive. So this leads me to my point. So like what makes it so that I am these sorts of things become less objectionable? Time. How long ago was it? And like number two is who? Like, is this person like evolved? For example, I saw an interview with Violent J from Insane Clown Posse on with Stereo Gum, and the interviewer brought up the fact that Violent J or ICP had a lot of really homophobic lyrics, and Violent J said that yeah, it was fucked up and he regretted it, and the interviewer said, well, it's pretty cool that you're able to, take responsibility like that. And Violent J said, like, no, it's not cool. It's fucked up that this is even an issue. Like, I shouldn't have done that. Like, juggalos are very inclusive. We've always been trying to be, like, inclusive and make sure that, like, everybody's accepted. And, I said a bunch of shit that, like, excluded people. And that's not cool. Not a direct quote. But it's like, that's really cool. And that shows that guy has evolved as a person, right? And people clown on... That actually wasn't intentional, but people clown on ICP because, there's a bunch of, like, cringe juggalo shit, but, like, I mean, that shows, like, a lot of maturity, right? And it's true that, like, ICP stuff, juggalo stuff, a lot of people find a good sense of community in there and stuff. I don't know. I used to, like, make fun of... I used to actually pretend, ironically, to be a juggalo on the internet, to make fun of juggalos in my youth. But, yeah, my perspective has totally changed. I still don't like the music, but, like... Anyway. How long has it been? Who did it? And also the quality. And that's a big one. Like, if... You can talk about objectionable stuff in your art. You can try to be transgressive. But, like, now in 2024, being an edgelord is just cringe as fuck. Like, it's not, like... I don't know. I guess some people find it funny, but it's just like, man, it is such an unsophisticated way of trying to be funny or even like trying to criticize culture. Like, there's so many more sophisticated ways of doing it. It's really like a dummy move to just like want to be offensive for the sake of being offensive. And that's something that was much more prevalent before. I think people now are much more I guess sensitive to other people and other people's perspective, which I think is one of the like positive things about, among many negative things about the rise of social media and the way the internet is now. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this song "Prayer to God." You see how easily it is misinterpreted, and how different the same song with the same lyrics, done by different people with different intentions. Even though, like, I don't think Frank Turner had to apologize for, like, promoting, like... Because Peter Sosa actually was, like, convicted of distributing child pornography. Because, like, his magazine, like, it had fucking child porn in it. It's fucked up. I don't think he ever had to, like, apologize for any stuff like that. But just the fact that he took the song at face value. Anyway. So my point is, I don't know what to do about this band. Like, do I tell my friend, like, hey man, because I don't want to put more um, I don't know, like, just, like, make my friend's life more complicated because he's fucking busy. And ultimately, like, this isn't gonna hurt anybody. Nobody's getting hurt by this. It's just words, right? But, like, I don't know. I think, like, I would want to know because I would not want to, like, book a band, like, not only who sucks that bad, but, like, would write such, like, a gross song with, like, no redeeming qualities. It's not funny. It's not satirical. It's not particularly transgressive. Like, there's like no positive qualities that I see. So I don't know. And then there's also the fact that, like, and this is another problem, and I don't know how I am going to deal with this, but, like, there is somebody in our music scene that I think I might have mentioned before, but, like, who I have very good reason to believe, like, actually, like, rape people, right? And that person still has power in this music scene. And a lot of people know it, and, like, nobody's doing anything. I mean, one person said stuff publicly, but, like, it didn't change anything, really. I mean, I guess some people don't associate, like me, I don't associate with this person anymore. But it's like, it's also like, it's not just like one person said something. It's like it's been years that, like, talked to enough people independently, heard enough situations, like, that, like, to me it's pretty, like, either this guy is, like, the least, like, the most unlucky and most persecuted person I've ever met in my life, or, like, he's a rapist. And, like, I don't know how to even to deal with that yet, but it's just like, man, if we're gonna fucking make shit happen here in Sherbrooke, like, we need to, like, fucking put our foot down sometimes and just be like, dude, I don't know. So this has been on my mind. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. Later tonight, it is going to be 20 degrees Celsius at 11 p.m., which is 67 degrees Fahrenheit. But yeah, it's only going to be above 50% chance of rain between 6, 7, 8 p.m., but after that, there's still a possibility. This has been my longest weather report so far, but I really wanted to get this off of my chest. I guess let me know what you think. I don't know. I guess there aren't, like, actual clear answers as expected, but I think it's something important. It's important to me, at least, like, because art is really important to me, and other people are important to me, and other people, like, feeling safe in like, wanting to participate in art, because that's all I've ever wanted, is to just participate in making music and making art. And, like, I can imagine that there are a lot of people who would go see a show and hear somebody sing about, like, wanting to rape a woman at gunpoint as a joke, and would be like, I don't know if I want to participate in this. This makes me feel really bad. And I guess I'll end with this. Like, I do want to make it clear that I think it is super important to talk about and include difficult things and shocking things and violent things and disturbing things in art. It is super important because that's how we explore it. That is how we explore our relationship with these things. But, like, if it sucks, and it's not funny, and it doesn't make art better or the world, the environment better in some way, it's not worthwhile. And I also know that I've become more sensitive over time to some stuff, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It's especially, like, films with, like, a lot of, like, violence. I never thought it would be, but sometimes I'm just like, watching something, I'm like, I don't want to, like, feel this. So yeah, I have gotten more sensitive over time, but I don't think that this is necessarily a bad thing. Okay, this has been going on for almost 30 minutes. My tummy ache is gone, pretty much, which is great, and I'm excited to go play Magic the Gathering tonight. No beautiful blue skies, no golden sunshine all along the way, but I will, and I hope you have a great day.